African Queen Mo channel subscribers and viewers and friends. How are you doing? Hope you're doing well. Thank you very much for the support that you gave me in my last video. And since it looks like this is the direction we should be going in at the moment, I am operating as that hummingbird that Wangari Maathai said that we should be. That comes and brings a little drop of water and puts it out to put out the fire little bit by bit. So all of us, millions and millions of hummingbirds coming together to put out the fires that we see. And we were reminded by the controller of budget of Kenya in a recent interview that she did on Spice FM that we should all be hummingbirds, trying to help to put out the fires, especially once government officials tell us that things are not going well. We should be listening and trying and ready to do something about it. Diaspora remittances. Let's start right over there. Those of us who are in the diaspora, how many are we? Here I am. I am just a recent arrival in the diaspora. There are very many people who have been out here, living here, earning an income, supporting families back home, with the hope that they are helping them to pay their school fees, pay their rents, pay medical bills, buy food, put food on the table, put petrol in cars, pay university tuition. And you guys have worked hard. Yeah, diasporans, you have worked really, really hard. Much of the diaspora remittances, most of it comes from the Western countries. And now also the Gulf countries are big contributors to diaspora remittances. And do you know that, are you aware, you guys, like for example, in my country of Kenya, the diaspora remittances have actually surpassed tea, coffee, and horticulture and tourism? Are you aware of that? According to the figures that I have over here, let's take a look at them. Remember, we work with figures, us guys. The diaspora remittances are, the first country that has the highest level of diaspora remittances is Egypt with 28 billion. Nigeria, then followed by Nigeria with $20 billion. This is $1 billion, okay, a year. Morocco, that is about $11 billion a year. Don't laugh at me. I have to put on my glasses since I see far nowadays. Kenya, 4.1 billion. Tunisia, 3.1 billion, Zimbabwe, 3.1 billion, Senegal, 2.5 billion, Algeria, 1.8 billion, and Congo, 1.7 billion, okay? Diaspora remittances are very important because they help the country. The single biggest source of forex inflows into the country, usually. Like in Kenya, for example, diaspora remittances were up to $4.3 billion, which is 602 billion Kenya shillings last year alone. Okay, that beating earnings from tourism, with over 13,000 Kenyans living and working in various sectors in Germany, taking part in economic growth as well. But basically, there are so many Kenyans living abroad right now. So many Kenyans. I'm not going to get into the numbers specifically, but what I will tell you is that that diaspora remittances are very important, okay? The Deputy President has said that he's going to review all the tax laws on the diaspora remittances because he noted that in Belgium, the government is in an advanced stage in these discussions, and the central bank shows that diaspora remittances September 2023 stood at 340 billion shillings. So basically, unfortunately, there are so many complaints from Kenyans who are working abroad over double taxation when you're sending money back home. And so Gachagua was actually addressing Kenyans when he went to Germany, and he promised that he was going to look into their issues, and especially on the issues of double taxation, which apparently is a thorn in our flesh. But those are words. In practice, what they're doing is that if you go to visit home, they will double tax you and triple tax you because they're going to start taxing anything that is above $500 or more, yeah, whether it's new or whether it's old. And this is based on East African parameters, and I don't know why then they would apply it to people who are living outside of the East African region. And even then, those are very old figures, because now we know that even a basic laptop, probably costs at least $1,000, a good quality one anyway, especially when it's new. Yeah. So basically, that is it with diaspora remittances at the moment. Yeah. And by the way, a lot of countries actually rely on diaspora remittances. It's not just African countries. It's also Asian countries, especially India. And it constitutes a large proportion of, quite an important proportion of the country budget. Okay, there's also something else I want you to be aware of apart from diaspora remittances. For those of you who are in Africa, there is the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement started operations about 2021 because it was delayed by COVID. It started off around 2020, yeah. So Free Trade Agreement, the reason why you're seeing some African presidents trying to ease movement of persons between countries is because this is part of the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement that many member states have signed on to as of 2020 and 2021. So don't be surprised when you see many other countries coming into the fore. Kenya started it. Rwanda has also, that it is allowing Africans to move freely between countries. All right. So if you are a large corporation, you are a government, or you are a financial institution, you're a bank, you're a microfinance, you can approach the Africa Export-Import Bank and see whether they can, you can apply for a facility with them. I don't know what that would require, but then if you go to their website, you'll see up there that they actually have a provision. They have you can actually apply for a facility, and there's something that comes up and it just says username. You create your username and password, register, sign up, and there you start your discussions. If you are not a big entity, because you're not a large corporation, you're not a government, you're not a financial institution, then you are in trouble, because apparently, according to, for example, The Nation, as of today, The Nation newspaper has reported that if you want to borrow money, don't borrow from Kenya, because Kenyan money is 60% more expensive than the rest of Eastern Africa, for example. It's one of the most expensive sources of financing for anything in Africa. So according to The Nation newspaper, there's a Kenyan firm, a big corporation from Kenya, that has gotten a 32 billion project in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And the project is dubbed the Kasungulu Smart City, which covers 40 acres of prime land. So I guess they're going to be developing a city there, which is really nice. It's nice to see a Kenyan company going into the DRC, and going in and to develop a smart city. I wonder what that smart city is all about. Let me see if I can read it a little bit for you. The Kenyan firm has been tapped to lead the construction of a 32 billion smart city in Kinshasa as demand for housing surges in Eastern Africa. So it looks like good quality housing is coming up in the DRC. That might be a place that you might be thinking to go, Kenyans. One thing I know is that DRC has good quality soils. Those of you who are interested in doing farming in the DRC, I know that a lot of South African farmers actually moved to the DRC when they lost their farms in South Africa, especially white farmers. But I think that it is open for everybody. I have a friend who's actually from Rwanda, who's actually been doing some farming in the Congo. And therefore, these are just opportunities. Apart from farming, you can actually go there, and maybe if you have an organization, a big company you can think of, you have a real estate company, you can think of how to develop quality housing and infrastructure, be part of the infrastructural development process of the country. And maybe you can borrow money from this Africa Export-Import Bank as well, probably at good rates. Okay, now, I'm not here to advertise anybody's companies. I'm here to let you know that the Kenya shilling, on the other hand, is still in free fall. Unfortunately, the Kenya shilling is falling, and it's becoming more and more expensive for us to borrow money, because there's the higher risk and less trust that we'll be able to pay back. Yeah. So it's unfortunate, because we as Kenyans, many Kenyan businesses apparently have defaulted already on almost, $500 billion, as interest rates are hitting the ceiling. Basically, the Nation newspaper is reporting about this, that there's so many non-performing loans. There's a huge the non-performing loan ratio is 15% now, which is the highest since 2007. 15% is the highest since 2007, yeah? So in let me compare it. In the last, maybe as of 2015, it was 6% only. Okay, as of 2015, it was 6%. Now, as of July 2023, it's at 15%. That's pretty sad. Bad loans, on the other hand, which is loan defaults, have increased by 100 billion shillings. Oh my God. So we are, hey, my God, it has actually increased by how many? And I'm forgetting my glasses, you people. Oh, guy. Okay, by 100 billion since January, just January itself, it has increased by 100 billion, to 596 bad loans. So Kenyans have defaulted on 596 billion shillings that has been lent to Kenyans. Guy! And the non-performing loans ratio is 15%. So 15% of all loans that are given out will not be performing anything. So this is the latest data from the Central Bank of Kenya that shows that the stock of non-performing loans in Kenya surged to 16-year highs. CBK data show that the increase in loan default has been in manufacturing, mining, quarrying, real estate, building, and construction. Think about it, guys. Those sectors, manufacturing, mining, quarrying, real estate, what is the one common denominator for all of those? High energy costs, high fuel costs, okay? High taxation. Yeah? So, meanwhile, falling depreciating shilling, high cost of inputs. This is a real problem. These are the people who are supposed to be creating jobs for people to go and build. And yeah, we're not doing very well at all. We're not doing very well. We're not doing well. Oh, we're not doing well. Oh, we're not. So, when the, we have the director of budget. What is her name here? Let me find her again. The controller of the budget. The controller of budget is a tough lady here. She's a lady, and she has told us she has said it very clearly that there's a problem. We are in trouble. We have a problem in this country. Yes. Yeah. So the fact is that we definitely need to get more serious with our country. Yeah. We need to get more serious. So the controller of budget has already raised an alarm, okay, about the irregular spending by the Treasury. She has said it on media. She has said it again in the newspaper. The newspapers have picked it up. And you need to understand that the National Treasury and her budget, okay, her budget fund are kind of like, they're two separate pots of money, okay? Her role is basically to approve and to, to authorize budgets, but it's not to make payments, yeah? It's not to actually make actual payments. Before you make payments, of course, then there's another series of, checks and balances that you need to put in place. She says in less than 3 months, since July, the Treasury has spent 15.3 billion without notifying her. Okay? And she complains about the ministries, departments, and agencies, MDAs, that cannot account for expenditure. When they're asked to provide their expenditure reports, they don't give them to her. And this is a problem, guys. This is a huge problem. We need to learn, and we need to make our leaders be accountable. She reports all this information to the National Assembly, but the National Assembly is not effective. Not at all. Maybe, how do we know? Maybe they're complicit. Maybe they're also part of the problem. Yeah, the members of the National Assembly, they need to be called out by Kenyans. How can they waste 15 billion shillings? How? So basically, she says on July 28th, Treasury approved 400 million spending to purchase vehicles at State House. The expense was not submitted to her office. She also noted that amongst the top expenditures that are incurred without notifying her, she named specific departments such as the State Department for Development in Arid and Semi-Arid Lands, for displacement impact projects. Displacement impact projects. Have you seen any of those happening? Is there any such thing as the displacement impact project that you've seen around, guys, in Kenya? And on 28th, spending on 2.2 billion by the State Department for crop development and for procurement of drying and storage facilities for post-harvest loss management. Have you seen any of those drying and storage facilities for post-harvest management? Yeah, have you seen them anywhere? That is one of the projects of the government that cannot be accounted for at the moment. We need to call out the government because we are watching. We are citizens. And we are called Citizens Watch here, guys. We are going to be watching the government and making sure that they are accountable. Yeah? The national government is accountable. The MPs, the people who are there to represent the people. Because if not the MPs, then who is going to represent the people? MPs, we are watching you. We are waiting to hear from you. We are on your side. We need you to come. Tell us what's going on. Explain to us your problems. Tell us, because we are listening. Yes. Come on board. All hands on deck. All brains on deck. Recently, we have a problem right now. There's this lady called Njeri Njoroge who imported 17 billion shillings worth of oil into the country. She imported that oil into the country and literally almost lost her life because of it. Her life was threatened just because she brought oil into the country, guys. She went to see the Minister for Energy, who told her, unfortunately, that particular consignment is no longer in her name. And she said, hey, you know what? I haven't sold to anybody. And he said, okay, then go over to the DCI and report that matter there. Go and record a statement at the DCI. And she marches off to the DCI, the modern Kenya that's going to protect my rights. I trust the DCI. The Director of Criminal Investigations, this is a criminal thing. How come my consignment is no longer in my name? And she goes there to the DCI, records a statement. And of course, she's gone with her friends. She's separated from her friends and told to go to a different room after recording that statement, never to be seen again. Never to be seen again until there was public outcry. And everybody is like, where is Njeri Njoroge? This is a mama, this is a lady, this is the ultimate hustler. Where is she? Why should she not be found? You guys, man, when I listened to this lady's... Why did you hear this, you guys? When I listened to this woman's story, it sent a chill to my spine. Literally. This woman was negotiating for her life. I tell you, it's good to have faith. And maybe, actually, they felt sorry for her. It's possible, you know. God performs miracles. May I believe in this, yeah? Yeah, miracles. If it's not your turn to go, it's not your turn to go. She didn't go. She's here to tell the story. Everybody was looking for her. Even her lawyer, everybody, you know, raised the alarm. And when she was telling the story, she told that story in a very brave way. She talked about how she even wet her pants, you know, when she couldn't actually go to the toilet. Imagine being put in a room with a chain and a mattress. You don't know whether those guys are going to rape you. She's an old mom. She's not a kid. Why is it that people even look at her and they wonder why she can't do business? How can this mama do business? Why not? Who does business in Kenya? Who owns a lot of business in Kenya? It's the women. Okay? It's the women. Women are tough. Women are business women. Women have been doing business for years. Women have even been going to war. Women are queens. Are you kidding? You think that the word queen is just thrown around like that? Queen Mo is here. And look at the way she stands there like a warrior. Doing business. This woman is tough. She's no joke. Those guys were behind her, you know, wiping the sweat off their brows. And she's standing there. The sweat is just coming down. She's standing like a soldier. This woman fasted throughout the night, throughout the day, refusing to eat, refusing to drink, worried that she's going to be poisoned. Worried that they're going to get rid of her. They're begging her to eat and drink now. They don't know what to do with her. She's refusing. She said, no, I'm actually fasting and praying. She's fasting and praying, believing that God is going to actually release her. And the only crime she did was actually to import the oil. Just to import diesel. And when she finally goes back to look for her diesel, what does she discover? When she finally finds that her part of her consignment has been siphoned off in the name of testing, apparently.
Njeri Njoroge, the businesswoman who was abducted last week and released and who appeared before a Mombasa court today, maintains the consignment of oil shipped into the country is hers, despite Energy CS Davis Chirchir and the Kenya Ports Authority stating the oil belongs to Galana Energies. Tonight, the family of Njeri Njoroge has broken their silence over the mystery surrounding the disappearance of their mother. Here's Ayub Abdikadir.
A week after her disappearance and sudden resurfacing in a Mombasa court, Njeri Njoroge continues to maintain her claim as owner of the 100,000 metric tons of imported fuel, some of which was destined for Uganda, South Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Njeri maintaining she ordered the imported fuel while awaiting for government permit, which she said was not processed as required.
Apply kwa IPRA na after that ililipwa kama kawaida kama sheria, na nimekuwa nikisubiri kila wakati kupewa import permit ambayo sikuwa ninajua inahitajika.
The wait, frustratingly long, prompted Njeri to seek the intervention of the Energy Cabinet Secretary Davis Chirchir, since the ship bearing her fuel had gotten near Kenyan waters. She says the Energy CS directed her to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, where after recording statement, she disappeared.
Ndio akaniambia mafuta sio yangu tena, mafuta ni ya kampuni inajiita Garana. Kaambia sijauza mafuta yangu wala sijasaini mkataba na hiyo kampuni inajiita Garana, kwa hivyo mafuta ni yangu. Ndio akasema haiwezekani na nifanye kwenda kwa CID headquarters kurecord statement.
In Nairobi, Njeri's family defended the authenticity of the documents she used to import the oil, clarifying that the statement made by the Kenya Ports Authority Managing Director, Captain William Ruto, were misleading and they bear the genuine documents. Both the cargo manifest and the bill of lading, contrary to KPA's claims of forgery and lacking requisite signatures, tell otherwise, instead showing Njoroge's adherence to the due process.
It is these exact papers, just as they are, removing the names Anne's Imports and Exports Enterprises and put in those two companies that have stolen the cargo. Originally, the cargo was 100,000 metric tons, as was first stated, because nobody imports 93,000. The 93,000 was what was found after what they claimed, after the Kenya Coast Guard came and found that what had been taken, they claimed that was testing. You don't test with over 6,000 metric tons.
Wanjiku says her mother has all the requisite documentation as required by law and has been in the oil business for more than 30 years.
Because she is licensed as a company to import all general goods, but she was not licensed to sell, and so she did not come to sell. She did not authorize the ship to come and dock at the port of Kenya.
Considering there is a current court order stating that the shipment should not actually be offloaded, and the same has already happened. So it actually shows a very skeptical picture from all the parties involved.
Njeri, whose disappearance raised alarm, says she is an importer of general goods including oil, dry foods and minerals with vast business interests across the African continent. Ayub Abdikadir, Citizen TV.
We were reminded by the controller of budget about the Wangari Maathai hummingbird story. Or was it a poem? About this hummingbird that took little drops of water to try to put out the fire. Transporting little drops of water with his little beak until the fire was put out. Yeah? So we are the hummingbirds. We're supposed to be humming. We're supposed to be talking. At some point, I'm going to go live, guys, so that we can have these discussions. Let me know what day works for you so that I can work on a live show, probably in the evening, probably on the weekend. Do you have access to internet on the weekend? When is a good time? I'm in the UK, so we're like about 3 hours behind Kenya, for example. If you want to participate from Uganda, from other countries, let me know. Put your information in the comment section down there. Yeah? And we'll do that. Okay, so, oh wow. There's so much to talk about, by the way. So much to talk about. For example, now, we're talking about modern day slavery. Now, this is something that really worries me and something that, we need to understand one thing. My question is this. If a woman like this one can be intimidated, a woman who's only dealing with 17 billion shillings, which is equivalent to about $110 million. And yet somebody like Aliko Dangote, when he actually repatriates 670 billion to his own countries, as a sign, as to show that, yes, we should have confidence in Nigeria. Nigeria is my country. Let's have confidence in Nigeria. And he puts it all in the banks to uplift the status of the banks, to, shield them, give them a little bit of a safety net, and help people to trade. These are the kinds of people that we need. These are the kinds of investors that will actually lift our countries out of poverty. Imagine if we had 10 of these women with $110 million. It's a lot of money, by the way, you guys. $110 million. Aliko Dangote brings in $670 million. She brings in about $110 million. She's literally almost begging for her life. Aliko Dangote continues business as usual and just says, yes, he can show, the source of his funds. He can show that all the money is clean. She said the same thing. She can show that all this money is clean, But you didn't hear that Aliko Dangote was traumatized, that he was tortured, that he was taken into a room and with a mattress and with a chain and not allowed to go to the toilet being fed like literally, in a dark place, talking to people that are literally hooded. She doesn't know who they are. The place is completely dark. She can't figure out who she's even talking to. Black people, African people cannot do business safely on our continent and without being harassed and without you actually providing us with support and ensuring that we are not frightened or even threatened. Even if you release that lady right now, she's worried for her life. She's still worried for her life. I mean, what does that mean? That you are subjecting your children and your children's children to continue working in Western countries and into the Middle East and the Gulf as slaves, literally, because most people are not educated enough to get quality jobs like people from the West and the Eastern countries. Because, for example, when we look at, the amount of remittances that come from countries such as India, it's much higher. And mainly it's because they're going for high-tech jobs in countries that have got high GNPs, such as the US and the West. These are tech jobs. These are not low-skilled workers. So why is it okay for you to give passports to our young people, Ministry of Immigration? Why is it okay, government of Kenya, for you to send your young children out, your university graduates, to go to the Gulf, to go to other countries, to work low-skilled jobs? Why is it okay? Yet you will welcome Western investors with open arms and a red carpet into our countries to do business. Do we know what women go through? Low-skilled workers in the Gulf and in the Middle East and Saudi Arabia. Our president, Ruto, comes very proudly talking about that he has found 350,000 potential jobs in Saudi Arabia. And they say because we are the hardest workers. Hardest workers as in what? Hardest working slaves? Is that what you mean? Yeah? These countries are yet to actually formally abolish slavery. They're yet to abolish that system. These countries, these Gulf countries. It's only Qatar. And even they are finding it difficult to follow up on workers who haven't been remunerated properly, on punishing their employers who end up, sexually maltreating these women, working them from dawn to dusk, domestic workers. They're given children to sleep with in the middle of the night. They're woken up in the night. They're asked, why do you need to rest? There's even a whole report called Why Do You Need to Rest? That was actually an investigation by Amnesty International, okay, on the plight of domestic workers in Saudi Arabia and in all these countries. Before you send your young people to these countries, you better know that they'll come back with a mental health condition. Because there are long-term complications, long-term effects of abuse of this type on young people especially. So what you will be doing is that you have injured your population, your young population, the ones who are supposed to be taking care of you and your children. You're thinking that the children of the poor are the ones who are going to look after your kids. Well, they're going to come back damaged, and they could do terrible things to your kids, having been exposed to the worst kinds of things that they have never seen in those Gulf countries. So before we send our young people to the Gulf, before we send our women to the Gulf, you need to understand that there is a history of slavery in those countries. And it should be a requirement that in the training of these young people, if they are going to be trained, if they insist on going, because if they insist, it should be at the very minimum the government's responsibility to make sure that they have had training and understanding in what is the Gulf country, what is a country, because everybody's excited about getting onto a plane. I have seen all these many girls many times in the airports, like in Doha, in Dubai. I've seen them running off to get their Riyadh flights, Jeddah flights. They're all, flying. And these girls, you can see, probably have never even seen the capital city of their country, many of these ladies. Some of them are even educated women, but then because of the fact that they have to pay school fees for their children, that they want their children to have a better quality of life, they end up in these countries. Once they go there, they have to give up their passports in the countries which have not yet abolished this kind of system. They have to give up their passports to their employers. Their employers keep their passports, and these women are not able to travel back home, not even to visit their families. Yeah, because they are seen as less than human in those countries. And yet you are comfortable, very comfortable, to go and sit down with the King of Saudi Arabia You, a black person, you know how he's looking at you as a president? He doesn't look at you very favorably because anyway, you're one of the black people that he doesn't actually respect. Yeah, they don't respect us. That's a fact. Just let's accept it. The few who are lucky, the few, because they are the minority, who are very lucky. And there's never a situation where you have every single employer being bad. But there's a tiny minority who are very loud, and they're given the microphone to tell all Kenyan women about what wonderful experience they had, how they came and built beautiful houses. They say it in vernacular stations. There are so many YouTubers interviewing people who are coming back from the Gulf, yeah, with really beautiful stories about how they built great houses, how they had wonderful employers, how they bought them clothes when they were coming, how they even gave them money, how they, all that kind of thing. Yeah, that is what we get to see. And they're given the microphone, they're given the public stand so that they can convince other girls who are in the villages to take up these jobs. When in fact you could be selling, and then you minimize the stories of those girls who have come back in coffins. If not in coffins, they end up at the mental hospital. Others come back emaciated. Their parents, instead of being happy seeing them at the airport, they are crying tears. And you think that it's okay to continue with that? Yeah? What is that? That is not the freedom that our ancestors have fought for. And that's not the freedom that we have been fighting for. Even myself. These are not the rights that we have been hoping to achieve. These are not the rights, the human rights that we've been advocating for. Certainly not. And therefore, I want to tell our governments that money is not the only important thing. The welfare of your citizens is more important than any money that you can ever give them. Modern day slavery, domestic abuse in Saudi Arabia is rampant. A report here by The Guardian. The Guardian is a newspaper here in the UK, by a lady called Caroline Kimel. Tuesday, 27 September 2022. Telling the story of a lady called Joyce Simiyu who left for a job as a domestic worker in Saudi Arabia. She believed her life was going to turn around for the better. While the 25-year-old only, she had never had any experience or envisioned herself doing any housework. So she dropped out of college because of financial pressures, and she ended up doing housework in the Gulf country. Within months, she was back in Kenya telling her harrowing tale of what went up. She was very, very lucky to come back. They have poor labor laws, poor human rights record, and is widely considered one of the most dangerous places to work. Why would you send your women to the battlefield? Saudi Arabia is actually a battlefield, a dangerous battlefield. Why is it okay? Why is it okay for you to put your children, other people's children, into the hands of these people? They have been dogged by allegations of physical, mental, and sexual abuse of migrant housekeepers. Yeah? Because they see black women as the underdog, literally. And yet, countries such as Uganda, for example, when they were faced with those kinds of statistics, the Foreign Affairs Ministry of Uganda actually banned workers from going to Saudi Arabia for a while. But then they changed it. They lifted that ban eventually. Even if they heard all these reports of the Gulf being plagued by complaints of mistreatment of domestic workers, the fact that there have been so many complaints of abuse, from Kenyan domestic workers based in Saudi Arabia, several videos of distressed women asking for help, even a Filipino maid. Filipinas have also vanished from Saudi Arabia. The difference between Africa and the Philippines, for example, though, is that the Philippines has actually gone a little bit further now in Saudi Arabia and in the Gulf countries, that the embassy has provided accommodation for maids who need to go through the courts to get justice, because it takes long and they always extend, their hearings. In the meantime, many of these people end up going back home with nothing. No money after working for 2 whole years. No money. They're not putting their money in their accounts. 283 Kenyan women died in the Middle Eastern countries within the last 3 years. The government disclosed updated records in August 2023. This is by Amos Kaemba, Labor and Social Protection Cabinet Secretary Florence Bore said, 185 out of 283 deceased Kenyans in the Gulf were reported in Saudi Arabia. 185 out of 283. Half of the people who died in the Gulf died in Saudi Arabia. And we're still transporting people to Saudi Arabia? Are you sure, guys? Is this how desperate we've been? Yeah, another thing I also wanted to draw your attention to is that with the Africa Export-Import Bank, that is based in Egypt, they do have internships available, and they're starting in December and I think in June. So you should apply if you are between the ages of under 32. I believe it's if you're a university student or university grad from various sectors, you can apply for an internship, and they'll actually give you some support to go to Egypt and work with this bank. So if you're a young person under 32, look into that. I noticed that as a potential opportunity for you. Okay, guys? To follow up with that opportunity with the Africa Import-Export Bank, you need to go online yourself. I will give you the link to the website and I'll show you right there. Just go online yourself. I don't know anybody at the bank. Don't ask me, oh, can you link me with the bank? No, I don't know anything about the bank. I do my own research, and you need to start becoming independent and looking for your own opportunities yourself. That is what I was taught when I was young, and that it continues till today. Thank you guys for listening. So guys, thank you so much for your time, and yeah, let's continue talking about this. Let us be involved citizens. Let us all be hands on deck, brains on deck, mouths open, hummingbirds. Let's sing until somebody hears us. Bye-bye, guys. Thank you for listening. Remember to thumbs up my video. Thank you so much. Those of you guys who are on Facebook, remember please to go into my video on YouTube and thumbs up. Write your comment in there. I really appreciate it, guys. I really appreciate you. I'm going to try my best to give you more information. Yeah, let's continue doing this. Okay, bye-bye.